This one lesson that I learned, I'm about to share with you, took me from fat and lonely and poor to physically fit with too many friends and too much money to know what to do with. And guess what? This is actually something that Jesus wants for you as well. Stay tuned. I really got free from a lot of passivity because of this life coach I had named Justin Stumval. Let me tell you about this first meeting I had with this guy. Okay, so I walked into his office. I was this Christian guy, but I heard about this guy, Justin, because a friend of mine worked with him and experienced just a crazy breakthrough from one meeting with this guy. The one thing she said to me was like, it was really impactful and he had crazy good things to say, but he cussed a little bit. I was like, that sounds like exactly what I need. At the time, I had so much offense towards God, offense towards the church. I was like, F this, F that, F this, F that. I still do a little cussing here and there. I don't believe it's actually cursing, like scripture says I think cussing is just normal words. We can have a whole other discussion on that someday if you really have feelings about it, but not for this topic. So I go into this guy's office. He's like, so why are you here? I'm looking at porn every day and I don't care. I want to care. I was like, I feel super disconnected from God. Mind you guys, I was like big into ministry before this. I'd led a trip of 32 students to Costa Rica where we saw tons of people get saved, lots of healing, like amazing things there. I'd done multiple trips to South Africa. I'd been a youth pastor for several years. I was like, my life was sold out for God and for ministry. I thought I was gonna be a martyr. Like I was making $800 a month just because I wanted to do ministry and I was fundraising. That's all I could afford. Life was awesome, but then everything shut down. My relationship with God was like, my connection went silent all of a sudden. It was scared the crap out of me. I was like, what the heck? I was having pain in relationships and I honestly felt so numb. I felt dead inside and it scared me because I wanted at some point to have this amazing relationship, marriage, be a good dad, like have a connection with God. And I felt scared I would never have those things. That's why I started getting life consulting to begin with. So I share all this with him. I'm like, I hate God, I hate the church. I know it's just offense. Like I've spoken every sermon on offense, Honestly, if another Christian starts talking at me, I'm punching him in the effing face. Like I'm so sick of Christians judging me, talking at me, and knowing that feeling like they have the solutions to all of my problems. And he was like, okay. And he just listened to everything. And he was like, first off, thanks for being honest. He's like, I have to poke and pry to get a lot of people to be honest in here. And I was like, well, I'm paying you a lot of effing money. Let's get this thing going. He just loved me, honestly. He didn't judge me or anything. He's like, I don't have any judgments towards you or think poorly of you for any of the things that you shared. And it was kind of cool having somebody just love me and see me in what I had shared and not judge me in it. And then he leaned in and he said something very interesting to me. He said, don't blame the judgment of God or the judgment of Christians for your own self-hatred and self-criticism and accusation. He said, your self-criticism is way more important than anybody else's judgment. What I gathered from this is that the only reason that those different judgments hurt me so bad and caused so much separation to me is because I had so much shame internally as my own landing pad that those things hit, right? And so those things actually just pulled on stuff that was already there inside of me. And he was like, why don't you tell me the first time you decided you hate yourself? And I was like, wow, probably when I was 12 years old. And it brought me back to what I had just mentioned about my 6th grade years, how I was so alone and deeply rejected. I blamed myself. I blamed 12-year-old chubby Spencer as the reason that I was rejected. And when people called me fat, and I was like, yep, that's just showing that it's true, that I'm rejectable because I'm fat, I'm socially awkward, I deserve to be rejected. That's what I had decided, basically. I decided that I am not lovable. It caused a fracture in my soul. It caused a fracture in my heart. And I had worked in my life so hard to never be those versions of myself that I believed were responsible for rejection. So what happened? Well, I wasn't functioning as fully me from that point on. I was being the other person that I thought I needed to be in order to be enough. Now, enough for what? Now, we're talking about people-pleasing and passivity. What is passivity and what is people-pleasing? Passivity and people-pleasing is I want to shut down myself as much as possible to make sure other people are taken care of. I don't want my feelings and thoughts to get in the way of what would be loving and kind to other people. So when I have feelings, I'm not going to share them. When I have thoughts, I'm not going to tell you about them. If I want something that's different than something that you want, I'm going to shut it down because you're more important than me. And this type of doormat living is not true Christianity. Jesus did not do that. Jesus had tons of boundaries. There was that moment with Lazarus where his family and friends had come and said like, hey, he needs your help. And he's like, I'll be there when I get there, basically. And then he shows up 4 days later, Lazarus is already dead. And they're like, hey, if you would have been here earlier, he wouldn't have died. He was obviously empathetic, wept with them, but then raised him from the dead. It's like he didn't change his course despite what they were going through. The Syrophoenician woman, he said, the bread is not for the dogs, it's for the children of the house of Israel. And she said, yes, but master, even the dogs eat from the crumbs of the master's table. And he was amazed at her faith, but he still held a boundary in the beginning. We see so many moments where people wanted to follow him and he told them what it would require for them to follow him. We see him speaking to the large crowds. He puts himself out in a boat to create space from the crowds. He's constantly confronting the disciples in their lack of faith over and over and over again. He confronts the Pharisees over and over and over, and he flips tables in the temple. We see a Jesus, yes, that is kind, but he is not a rollover deadbeat. Even in him laying his life down on the cross, said, nobody can take my life from me. I alone lay it down. Now, is that a passive Jesus to you? He said, I do what I see the Father doing. He was living from love. He was overflowing. He was not living from a place of, I'm going to do what's nice, stuff myself down so that other people can get what they need and want. He didn't live for other people's needs and wants. He lived from an overflow of his own identity. He was love. He was the being of love. You cannot become or be loved to people unless you know you are loved. Your needs, your desires are fulfilled and taken care of in God that you can now give away. I notice so many people that are plagued with this passivity that keeps them from confronting people in sales calls, coaching people and challenging them, leading their teams well. I see people that give all these titles away to their team members because they want people to have all this importance and significance before they're ready. They're not even qualified yet to be a COO or a CMO, and they give all these C-suite executive titles away and then don't understand why they have no money left in the business when they've overpaid all these employees that are underqualified just because in the niceness of their own heart, they want to make sure these people are taken care of instead of requiring them to step up into the role that they've given them and assigned to them. One thing I remember in this season that I went through, after I went through that session, it was actually a challenge in his office. He challenged me to start sharing with people what I felt and what was going on inside of me. I had a full month where my entire homework was to be radically honest with every single person I came into contact with. I know, scary. I walked into this bar this one time and I'm like the happy-go-lucky guy. I get into the bar and there's this guy that comes up to me. He's like, hey, what's up, man? I was like, dude, what's up? Good to see you. And we were talking and riffing back and forth and he goes, hey man, I like you. Like, I really like you. We should get together sometime and grab coffee or get together, And I immediately, this was one of my pieces of homework, I immediately started feeling shut down in my heart at the idea of getting together with him. And where I would have normally before said, sure, and just kept putting it off until we never did anything, that's passivity. So instead I had to be honest with him. And I just realized in that moment, I was confronted with myself. I am no longer the person that does things that violates my heart. What I had to realize was that I was violating my heart every time I did these things that trampled on my heart in the process. So I had to be honest. So what did I say? I told the guy, I was like, actually, I don't want to get together with you. And he's like, oh, what? I honestly enjoy getting to see you out in these different environments, but if I'm honest, I have plenty of friends in my life that I can barely already invest in at the moment, and I don't desire any further friendship with you. And I wanted to be really upfront and honest with you about that. That went over like a fart in church, right? I sat there looking at this guy feeling so empathetic because he was like, yeah. But then I remember that conversation, he actually said it assumptively. He wasn't really giving me an option. He's like, we should do this. And I realized like, oh, there was actually a part of him that felt scared of rejection that caused him to lead in with an assumptive request. He didn't want me to say no, and it didn't really leave space for me to say no. I've noticed the friendships that I really say yes to, where I'm like, yeah, I'd love to get coffee with you. It's because they're asking me, and it's okay if I say yes or no. They're like, if we connect, awesome, let's get together. If not, I won't be offended. This guy actually was carrying something. He was carrying rejection. And so I got to feel that, and I got to be saved from being a source that this guy attached to in his own codependency. I had another moment where I saw this guy at the gym that had talked about me behind my back to a girl that I really, really liked in ministry school a few years back. He had moved back to the city, and I kept seeing him at the gym, and every time I saw him, he was acting all friendly, like we were good friends and everything was good between us. And every time I saw him, I was like, that was fake. That was a fake, like whatever that was. He said, hi, how's it going? He doesn't care how I'm doing. And like, I was like mumbling and grumbling. And I came into the office with my life coach and I was like, this guy, I want to punch him in his freaking face. I want nothing to do with him. Like, this guy's fake. I think the next time I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. He's like, you could do that. Or you could take this as an opportunity to share what's going on in your heart and be radically honest with this guy. Shoot. Okay, so we processed it out. I had written out all of what I wanted to share. So I saw this guy at the gym. Sure enough, he's like, hey man, how's it going? How you doing, man? I need to talk to you. Oh, sure, what's up? You know, when I see you, I find myself extremely frustrated because I don't know how to interact with you. I think it goes back to when I was dating this girl that I think you had feelings for, and I assume you did because I'd heard about you having feelings for her from a couple of different people, herself included. And one time we were sitting in the car and she told me that you said this, and this about me, that I don't have a good heart, good character. And now I get to see you a year and a half later and you're acting like we're friends. I think it feels kind of fake to me because you've never taken ownership for those things that you said behind my back, and now you're acting like we're just good even though you said those things and never took responsibility for it. Wow, like that felt powerful. I was kind of shaking a little bit when I said it because I was never used to sharing my feelings about that stuff. This guy starts crying and he goes, I felt jealous of you. I liked her a lot and she liked you and she chose you and I didn't know what to do with that. And I'm so sorry I did say those things about you. This is the craziest thing. My hatred towards this guy immediately turned into respect and love for him. And that's the power of radical honesty and learning to love yourself in your heart. After this season, I have to tell you guys, I felt so charged. I was able to, like, my sales skyrocketed. I think I went from making $2,000 a month to making like $6,000 a month, which was tripling my income. That's what led me to take another job that I made even more income. So it led me to actually say yes to the next 2 positions where I owned myself and owned my heart and my skills and my giftings in those meetings. I ended up making 15 to 20 grand a month after that. That eventually led to me being able to say yes to starting a business on my own because I built the self-confidence in myself that my heart mattered, my voice mattered, who I was mattered. That it's no longer me or people, that like which one of us is gonna win in the honoring and mattering contest. It's like, no, we all matter. We're all just as valuable. And so now in a relational engagement, I matter and you matter if we're engaging in true friendship, true communion, right? There are people that, like, if I'm serving or ministering to a homeless guy on the streets or like giving him money, I don't need him to respond to me well. People commenting on social media and telling me like what an idiot I am or how bad my heart is or judging me, I'm like, that didn't do anything for me because we're not in relational communion together. But people that I'm growing in relationship with, I can now enter into, there's mutual respect here because I do respect myself. And I guarantee if you gain this and you learn this for yourself and you take this moment to be radically honest in your life, start to question, when has your heart stopped mattering to you? When did you decide you hate yourself, that you don't matter? When you start asking those questions and answering those questions and getting connected to that, I think you're gonna find that you'll be a lot more powerful. I hope this was valuable. If you got something out of this video at all, I would love if you could just hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more videos like this. And comment, please comment, like what's something that's going on in your life? What are areas that you feel like you struggle in passivity, or what are areas that you want to grow in your life? What are things that you want me to speak on, topics around emotional health, around entrepreneurship, or around faith, or any questions or things that triggered you in this that I could be able to speak into as well. The comments are where I want you to live because then I get to respond with you and this can be a two-way conversation. Hope this was valuable. Thanks so much for tuning into my content. Your attention can be anywhere and you're giving it to me, and that makes me feel so happy. So I will see you on the next video.